What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another solo Leveling Arise video. Alright folks, I'm feeling much better. Man, oh man, that medicine kicking in hard. So first off, I want to say big shout out to Materia and Zaf for these videos. I'm going to react to them because a lot of people have been asking me to take a look at this. And why are people skipping ESIL before she's even out? And should you? And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this. I first want to check out their videos. So we're going to start off with Materia's and kind of see what he kind of has to say about it. It's kind of a big title. Why my guild is skipping ESIL and you should too. So first off, go like, subscribe to his channel. We're going to take a look at this and see what he has to say. And then we're going to look at Zaf's and then kind of see what Zaf had to say. And then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on it as well too. And give you my strategy going forward on what is the big plan here in regards to ESIL. Don't forget the live stream is tomorrow for the KR version. We're going to be having codes, everything about ESIL in regards to, I guess, some gameplay, plus some of the new game modes that are coming out. And then, of course, the Sharp live stream to actually look at the kit and understand the full kit. All right, let's go into this without further ado and see this.
What's up, guys? I'm here hitting you up with a new video. I know my hair is wild today, but you know what?
Jeez.
And I just didn't care coming.
Bro, this is why it's just better to be bald. Consider going bald, bro. Trust me, you never have to deal with this shit again. You just take a shower and you're glistening. You come out looking like a fucking $1 million, bro. Crazy.
Through them today, so it is what it is. But yeah, today a different style of video. I really wanted to take this opportunity and talk to you guys about the upcoming Hunter ESIL, my thoughts, plans, and why we are sitting here and discussing this topic overall. Oh, and by the way, because I don't often say it, if you're new to this channel, subscribe. I basically upload every other day. And also, guys, in case you don't support anyone with the partner creator program, feel free to support me over there. Really appreciate everybody. Now, what is the topic I wanted to discuss with you guys today? So as you can read from the title, obviously you get a general gist of it. I am not going to pull ESIL the next week. I'm planning on entirely skipping her. I really do not care at all, and my entire guild will also not pull her. Everybody will skip her, and
that's ballsy.
There are a couple of reasons,
and we want to know those.
Why? Obviously, right? That's what we want to discuss here. Now, first and foremost, who does it not apply to? This advice, what I'm giving you now, guys, is only applicable to global launch players. It's not for someone who just started out playing solo leveling Arise. It's not for a returning player who just came back. It's solely for global launch players, especially also very insightful and interesting for free-to-play players as well. And because the reason why I want to talk about this today is I had this discussion a lot of times when I was doing my live streams with my viewers, and I thought it's about time to actually share the source of why I think ESIL is a skip in general, and potentially Kanai as well as a skip if she's a fire unit. The reason is in general that fire units in solo leveling Arise are not desirable to pull. The reason...
He's not wrong. If you look at the list of fire units, we have Choi, we have Emma. Emma's probably, I still say, the best fire unit in the game at the moment. We have Gina, and then we have, of course, ESIL coming out, and then we also have Kanai is apparently supposed to be also another one that's coming out too. I might be missing a unit or two here from that list, but yeah, he's absolutely right. Fire has, Yusa Yun, sorry, Yusa, I should probably remember Yusa Yun. All of them have kind of been mediocre at best. And he's right, there's really been no reason to pull fire at all.
Behind that is because of Netmarble's combat system or design when it comes to content, like workshops, stuff like that, you know. Them implementing the double element system, there was really no reason whatsoever to pull every single hunter on release date.
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right on that. So he hit it, and this is what I said on my point too. He hit it on the nail. If you have every element besides one element covered, let's just say you have dark, water, right, wind, light, fully maximized, and those units are more than enough, you don't need to pull for fire. You don't whatsoever need to pull for fire. And the reason why is because the way Netmarble made their WOBLs. Now, keep in mind, this only applies to certain content. They're probably going to release certain content that ESIL is going to be very powerful for. For example, perhaps a new co-op or perhaps a brand new Ant Queen guild boss. But he's absolutely right. When it comes down to, depending what kind of player you are, if you were worried about PvE and WOBL, then that is something you can definitely skip a whole element for, because they're doing dual elements. And again, if you have a strong enough element for each one but one, you can still make up for that. And the fact that the WOBLs will have a secondary element for you to focus on, just like light and fire, right? Why would you choose fire in this case when you have light? So great example.
Why is it? Now, let's assume, like, here's the thing, right? Now, let's say I go to the workshop of Brilliant Light, right? Now I have to do it. So what we can see here is they implemented the dual element thing, and now we have dark and wind, right? Now we already know that the next wobble with Deimos will be light and fire. Now if you look at what the light team offers right now, and if we look at what the fire team offers right now, there's a vast difference between these two.
Yeah,
like,
he's right.
The light department is
be no point.
a finished product. You have like Char, you have Thomas, especially Thomas with Gogo and He, right? You can mix between Min and Akari. There are many different options, but overall it is a fairly finished product overall, right? When it comes, and why is it so, to get to the point really, why is it so that it's not worth, or why you should skip ESIL is, now if you played this game since day one really, you have a lot of units, right? You have your Mireille, you have your Thomas, you have your Char, you have your Alicia, you have like a lot of different options overall, right? So this is basically where it's at in its entirety, and the reason is there is no point for you to ever pull a fire unit in solo leveling Arise because of dual elements. So whatever elements a dungeon has with fire, there will also be a second element. You have water.
So again, this is only applying to WOBL. Keep that in mind, guys, right? When it comes down to other products that may release in the future, this may not be the case, right? And again, Netmarble is notorious for creating a unit and then having that unit be excel at a certain point. So Simulation, for example, Thomas, when he came out, right? Simulation was always light. So there might be something else that comes along with ESIL that makes her look redeemable or you know, valuable. But at the end of the day, he's right. Fire is definitely one that is skippable for WOBL, but I'm not sure if that's the case for everything out there. So keep that in mind. This just so everyone's aware of that.
You have dark, you have whatever. When you look at the grand scheme of things, there is for you personally no reason whatsoever to pull the fire unit. Why is that? I mean, at the end of the day, you can use just a different element, right? You don't need the fire team. And it's not like the fire team is anywhere good right now, and it doesn't even matter if the fire team is decent or not, but there's literally no reason to pull them. Now let's look at the current trend of SLA. Now what we know is that next week we are getting Deimos, right? So Deimos is a new wobble which drops next week, which is week 2 Light and Fire. And we already know when the next workshop arrives, right guys? So Jormungand, for example, the workshop after Deimos will release in May. This is a very long
March
time actually until there's another workshop. So you know what? Till May, you're super safe, not running fire at all, because you can just use your Thomas team, right? The Thomas team, because that just carries you infinitely anyways. So those.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I made the video this morning about why you should be pulling for Thomas over anybody else. This is the reason why I said don't mess up and get that. So there you guys go. I'm going to stop here because I think Matt already has kind of proved this point here. Let's go over to Zafs here and talk about Zafs. So I'll put that video in the description. Shout out to Matt for putting that together. And I totally agree with him on that. Let me just look at all this. Okay, let's look at
as you know, in less than 3 days from the recording of this video, ESIL and a new update are dropping, but the question is, should you or should you not summon for her? Obviously, that's a very tough question to answer until we can summon for her, until we see her preview, until we see her kit, her stats, test her out. But really quick in the comments, do let me know if you plan on summoning.
Okay, Zap, 1 second here. Let's go through this. What we know
Right now when it comes to ESIL, so very important, she is going to be the fire version of Gogunhi. That's the assumption, and she's all.
Is that really what she is? I didn't realize that. I thought she was going to be more of a limb version of Dark, where she's an attack breaker, not a defensive breaker.
Also, going to scale with attack, meaning she might be our first attack scaling breaker DPS unit.
That's not true, Zaf. The limb exists. I know it's kind of rough thinking about Robin Hood, Men in Tights, but he does exist.
And of course, being for the fire category, we already have other attack scaling breaker units like Lim here, where is he?
There we go.
Although not the best unit still, he does scale off attack and he breaks, but ESIL might be a much better version comparable to Goga and Heba for the fire element, so I'm very excited about that. The only issue is when it comes to ESIL, she is going to be obviously a fantastic support unit, a breaker, a DPS buffer based on what we can expect, but the main issue is who is she going to support, who is she going to buff, because right now when it comes to our fire teams, there's not really much there to enjoy. We have
He's not wrong. So that's exactly the problem Matt was saying, right? It would have been smarter, in my opinion, to do the opposite, where Kanai came out first as a DPS, and then you would have wanted the support to kind of come out afterwards. Kind of like Mirai and Hansumi, right? It made more sense at the time because you got the main DPS, you knew how powerful she was, and you wanted to make that DPS even better. At the moment, you're kind of releasing the support first, and you're kind of being like, hey, the star of the show isn't coming out till next time, and who knows how that star of the show will end up being, right? So I think that Marvel kind of dropped the ball in this release pattern. It should have been Kanai first, and then it should have been ESIL, my opinion.
Yu So-hyun, she's a mid-tier DPS unit, not really excelling right now. We have Emma, she's a very good mobber and breaker. We have Gina, where is she? She's support unit. She has okay damage, she's attack scaling, so not too bad. And we have Choi. He has
just looks amazing. My god.
He has good skill damage from the resets his ultimate gives, but overall his DPS is pretty lackluster, so there's not really too many good fire units out there. That means for that reason alone, I wouldn't say using your rate up tickets for ESIL is going to be a must, something that's required ASAP, because even with the brand new workshop coming out, which we can of course expect to be dual elements, that being light and fire, that just means for a fact we're not really going to be required to summon 4, because right now we have Goganhi, we have Thomas Andre, we have Akari, we have Cha, we have so many light units that we can just use instead of using our fire teams. Why? We should summon for ESIL right now, but of course she is a waifu to a lot of you. She is a unit a lot of you do love, and probably one of the biggest fan favorites in general. That's why a lot of you will summon for her anyways. But when it comes to the efficiency route, a lot of you wondering, should you summon for her? I would say she is going to be a unit that you can wait on, but you have to remember, there are a lot of events when hunters do release. That's why I always do recommend anyways to summon for them. Just get them to A0 for example. That way you can max out on the events like these ones here that do provide us the weapon and the materials for the hunter weapons, giving us a lot of bonus stats that
This is where it kind of gets iffy, right, with me. So I'm gonna be real. At this point in the game, a lot of people are still asking me, Payne, what's the sweet spot for a character? And honestly, at this point, I'm just saying A5 for everybody. Let's be real. Free to play, pay to win, it doesn't matter at this point. If you are looking to be competitive in the end game content, which is essentially WOBL or anything that's going to give you any of the big rewards that you were actually aiming for, A5 minimum at this point. So even pulling an A0 ESIL for me doesn't make any sense, because at the end of the day, you're not going to use that character. And then you got to get that character to A5 to make her valid, right? So even if it is just to get a free weapon, why? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to use that character unless their combat power is high enough, where at the most part A0 is going to give you nothing. So I don't kind of agree with that part. I will have to say, be smart about that, guys. Remember, especially if you're free to play, pay to win, obviously you're going to do whatever you want, because you're going to get her to A10, A5, etc. Free to play though, if you're just pulling just to get her and you're a collector, sure, that's up to you. But if you're looking to be competitive, A5 is what you're aiming for, guys, at this point. Every single WOBL is getting stronger. It's getting harder, and your combat power requirement is getting higher. So why would you pull for an A0 that you're never going to use? So that's about the only thing I disagree with, because you can still get all of these items by just doing missions without pulling.
do help us out in the long run. If you miss out on these events, you are losing out on a ton of potential damage, and also we have these events here, which do give us weapons and other materials, which are pretty good.
Again, not worthwhile. Not for rate up tickets. I don't agree with that personally.
Can max these out without getting a hunter, of course, but generally speaking, getting the main hunter will be the main source of points, so that's why I'm summon for her. But we also have future game modes coming out, so the question is whether or not
That's
will
what
be
I
important for.
That's why I agree with Zaf there. So the future game modes is really what it's all about. And again, Netmarble is notorious for making future game modes be relevant with the characters that come out, right? Thomas Andre Simulation is a prime example of that. Thomas Andre, pretty much anything. But again, if you're going to choose between Thomas Andre or ESIL, Thomas Andre should take the cake easily, right? So keep that in mind.
The first general game mode, of course, being this one right here, our favorite Battlefield time game mode. We know for a fact whenever a new hunter drops, they're generally going to be needed for at least one or two of these stages. So if you're someone like me who does enjoy getting a fantastic...
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, for example, Emma's been able to do everything here for fire still. Choi's been able to do everything for fire. Yusuyun's barely useful. Min is still good. Akari's barely useful here. Gunhee, Thomas are fine, but you don't even need Thomas. Cha does well enough here. So again, I don't know if I agree with that.
Battlefield time score, trying to get that rank number 1 spot every single time. She will be a hunter you probably want to summon for, but again, not really too required, I'm sure. We can find alternatives where you don't need ESIL right away.
Exactly.
But we do have other bosses coming out as well. We have the Guild Boss Queen Ant coming. We can't expect, obviously, them to be weak to fire, but generally speaking, the Guild Boss will be weak to every single element, obviously, so that'll be fine to ignore.
That's where I think she'll be good for.
We do have another workshop coming out, however. That being Gogman, of course. We have no info on them. They can be weak to basically anything, but based on our past history when it comes to the workshop, we had wind, we had water, we had dark, and now we're getting fire and light. That means going forward, potentially water will come back, and that's another element we'll need. My best guess is that Godo will fill that slot, obviously, because devs wouldn't really release a hunter that's going to be useless for future raids, especially when he was...
Yeah, I agree with him there for sure. I think Goto's really going to be the one there. So what to do? Let's see what he says.
I recommend you just wait, that being for the Korean streams, and also waiting for us to test her out. That way you know for a fact whether or not she's going to be a viable hunter to use. But if that...
Yeah, there you go. I think Zaf's correct on the most part. There's some things I disagree with him, but that's normal. I think seeing it from both lenses, being a free-to-play player and pay-to-win player, I can kind of see the quality of things he's saying. But as a free-to-play player on that side, I do see some problems with some of the justifications. But at the end of the day, he's correct. And the fact that ESIL will come out most likely and will have some form of use for some of the new game modes, and that's what it is. So what am I going to do personally? On free-to-play, I'm completely skipping. I'm not going to lie. I'm skipping. Pay to win, I'm going to go all the way to A10 because, of course, that's what I do for you guys. I'm going to do the testing, the summoning, do all that fun jazz. We're going to know more about her tomorrow in the KR live stream, so make sure you join that as well, too. And I think at the end of the day, guys, when it comes down to it, she's definitely going to be skippable. I would be using all my tickets personally to get Thomas up if I were you. A lot of you guys are like A5 to A10. That's up to you guys on that one. How far you want to push him. The more you push him, the more damage you're going to get, and the more combat power you're going to get, making the next set of content much easier for you. So do I agree with these guys? Yeah, totally. I think she's skippable. I think she's skippable. A lot of you guys will summon because she's ESIL, and that's the main reason. But I do think as fire being... I think Netmarble shit the bed with fire. I think it's a little too late now at this point and I think they should have done the reverse. Kanai should have came out first, and then ESIL should have came out after, and that should have been the order of things, because at the end of the day, you want your DPS to look good, and then the supports to make the DPS look even better. To bring out a support first and not the DPS makes no sense to me, because at the end of the day, most people want to see their big numbers, and if Kanai sucks, and you pulled ESIL just for Kanai, that's going to look bad, right? But if you pull Kanai, she's great, chances are you're going to be like, okay, you know what, I have Gina, but I can probably pull for ESIL, who's probably going to make Kanai even better. That's my take on it. All right, folks, thank you so much. I'm going to put both videos in the description. Go like, subscribe to both of these guys. Amazing work as usual, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.